Good evening and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. Now the top stories this hour. Court orders EFCC to release Aisha Achimugu within 48 or rather 24 hours over money laundering allegations. And Chief Justice of Nigeria challenges Nigerian Bar Association to rise and defend the integrity of the Nigerian judiciary. Also coming up, Mali's junta chief wins backing of key political allies to be declared president for the next 5 years. Details coming up now. Now let's begin by telling you that a federal high court in Abuja has ordered the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to release popular businesswoman and socialite Aisha Achimugu within 24 hours following her arraignment on Wednesday. The court also ordered the EFCC report a feedback on May 2nd. Her arraignment came a day after she was arrested by operators of the EFCC at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja shortly after she returned from London and was subsequently taken into custody. On Monday, Justice Inyang Eko of the Federal High Court Abuja ordered her to appear before the EFCC on Tuesday and also to appear before the court on Wednesday, April 30, 2025. She had been declared wanted in March by the EFCC over allegations of criminal conspiracy and money laundering. And now to politics. Nigeria Labour Congress says Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi does not need a coalition with the PDP or backing from political heavyweights like Atiku Abubakar or Nasir El-Rufai to win in 2027. The Deputy President of the NLC Political Commission, Professor Theophilus Ndubwaku, made the declaration in an exclusive interview, stating that Peter Obi remains a strong and widely accepted candidate across the country. Ndubwaku insisted that Obi can defeat incumbent President Bola Tinubu in a free and fair contest without the backing of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, or any coalition with the PDP. Describing the opposition party as crisis-ridden and near empty, Professor Ndubwaku dismissed ongoing speculation about Obi possibly returning to the PDP. Now, earlier I had a discussion with political analyst Francis Chilaka. He joined us to discuss this.
The Labour Congress Committee, or whatever it's called, they are not in tune with the reality of Nigerian politics. They don't understand what it means to take power or wrestle power from an incumbent government. If they do, they wouldn't be saying such. Because as it stands today in Nigeria, if anybody has to take power from APC, there has to be a merger. Without a merger, you can't go it alone. I mean, we recall that in 2013 or so, we had a merger that led to the birth of APC to take power from the PDP. So it's not like if they keep saying, oh, Obi will do it alone, Obi will do it alone. Is it this fragmented Labour Party that is going to use? It appears that the Nigerian Labour Congress do not understand how fragmented their party is right now. On one hand, you have Apapa, you have Abure, you have Leonard Usman. I mean, so what else are we looking at? The party is fragmented. So if you're saying that Obi can go it alone, what is the grassroots presence of Labour Party?
In the meantime, a coalition of legal advocates is calling for urgent action over alleged corruption in Bauchi State, warning that Governor Bala Mohammed's rumored defection to the APC must not derail ongoing investigations or shield wrongdoers from justice. At a press briefing held at the NUJ Secretariat in Jos, the lawyers for the cause of Bauchi decried selective justice in the handling of anti-graft cases. They faulted the EFCC's focus on the former Accountant General while overlooking the senior officials implicated in corruption allegations. The group also demanded the immediate suspension of the Bauchi State SSG, the current Accountant General, as well as others linked to the scandal.
Our idea of justice on this matter is for the government at all levels to always give a satisfactory account of the taxpayers' money, resources, and other articles of general ownership put in their hands on trust. The SSG, Bauchi State, Accountant General, and other officials involved should resign or be suspended forthwith. It is our view that based on the seriousness of the allegations against the SSG of Bauchi State, the Accountant General, and other officials involved in the corruption case currently pending before Honorable Justice O.A. Egwata of the Federal High Court, Abuja, and the fact that some of these officials of the Bauchi State government shown an earlier invitation by the EFCC on the matter. We call on all of them to resign or step aside from their respective offices forthwith, pending the determination of the case against them.
Now, away from politics, a video has emerged on social media claiming that some companies are engaging in illegal mining in Kogi State, including Manuel Cement Company. But the Kogi State government has dispelled the rumor, saying the video was orchestrated by mischief makers with inordinate interest. The State Commissioner for Information and Communication, Kingsley Fowler, said such reports were put forward to discredit the investment viability of the state, saying Mangal Cement Company is duly registered and has added the economic prosperity, or rather added to the economic prosperity of the state. He said the state government is also ready to support business growth for the development of the state. Now, joining us live from Lokoja for more on this is the Kogi State Commissioner for Information and Communications, Kingsley Fowler. Mr. Fowler, you're welcome this evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you viewers around the world.
You're welcome. So, the viral video, it's everywhere, but the state government says the facts are being twisted. What's your take?
I would say the video is mischievous, it's ludicrous. It is a deliberate and intentional attempt to discredit the investment drive of the state government, coming just a few days after the governor returned from a very successful investment tour of China. Shows that some mischief makers were out to ensure that they discredit all of the good work that the governor has done to attract investment into the state. I would say that the claims in the video are not just false, but laughable, ludicrous, and there's something that should be dismissed by the personality of the people of Nigeria.
So, Mr. Fowler, to what end? Why would anyone want to discredit this, well, what one should think is a good endeavor by the state?
Yeah, that's why I said that those people have an inordinate interest. You would recall that the governor was in China and had very high-level discussions with very big, giant industries in China who are ready to come to the state. So it is possible that some already jittery. Mangal cement industry, million tons cement annually. And when you have such, definitely you have an airstrip. You can't have such magnitude of an industry without an airstrip. And some people might not even be happy that Mangal is already contributing immensely to the economy of Kogi State. Mangal is doing 3 million tons of cement, and also they have employed over 10,000 workers. They have about 1,000 trucks, and they are adding to the economy of the state. And the airstrip that they kept referring to in that video had the certification of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. So it is a licensed airstrip to be able to serve that cement industry. So it is false, and it is an attempt to paint Kogi as a place where you have illegal mining, illegal businesses springing up, not that level of having a Mangal cement industry.
Okay then, Mr. Fowler, the network seems to be going here and there, but I'm hoping that you can at least still hear me, because I'm about to pose another question here. So let's understand what the position of the Kogi State government is on mining generally. What powers does the government enjoy, and what's the typical process for any company to be permitted to undertake mining activities in Kogi State?
Yeah, if I will get your questions right, mining is on the exclusive list, and that is being dealt with by the federal government. But we have a handshake at that level also with the state government. So we are also aware of all the activities of the licensed and authorized miners and investments in the state, such as Mangal Cement Industries Limited. It is an industry, it is a company that the state government is proud of, that the state government is happy to have in the state, that is adding value to the government and the people of Kogi State. So they have our backings, and they are licensed to operate. The airstrip is also licensed by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. So it is a company that is operating legally in the state, and we are also reaping the benefits of such a magnificent investment in the state.
So what then is being done to fish out who may have been behind the viral video, and how do you hope to contain an idea that may have already been planted in people's minds?
Thank you very much. You know, the video is such that we have come out as a state government firing to dispel it. It's not this kind of a rumor that you just allow to fly. We will not allow this to fly, because we want Kogi State to be the investment destination, the preferred destination of choice of investors around the world. And when you see this kind of video, it could discourage a lot of investment, both foreign investment and local investment. So we have come out as a government to dispel it, and we will come up with reports periodically to be able to tell the world about what is happening. We are not saying that there are no illegal miners in Kogi State. Just like you have illegal miners in the other parts of the country, you have illegal miners also in Kogi State. And apart from what the Federal Ministry of Mines is doing, the State Ministry of Solid Minerals, under the able leadership of the Honorable Commissioner, Engineer Bashir Gegu, is doing a lot of work also to discover.
Once again, we seem to have lost the commissioner there, unfortunately. If we can, we'll bring him back to conclude on his answer to that question. But let's go to break now. When we come back, Plateau State government sympathizes with traders over losses in Jos Terminal bus market. We'll be back. So welcome back. Our former military governor of the defunct southeastern state, Major General Paul Omu, is dead. A statement released by his family on Wednesday said the retired military officer died at the age of 84 on April 29. The statement, signed by Ogene Kome Omu on behalf of the family, said the late general, a native of Ibide community, Isoko South local government area of Delta State, served Nigeria and his community in various capacities. He served as military governor of the then southeastern state, comprising today's Akwa Ibom and Cross River, from July 1975 to July 1978, when he implemented the construction and rehabilitation of core infrastructures in the state. Plateau State government has expressed deep sympathy and sadness over the unfortunate fire incident which gutted several stores and destroyed goods worth millions of naira at the Jos main market on Tuesday. The unfortunate fire outbreak is a devastating blow to the state's economic hub, and we shared in the grief of those who suffered losses. Meanwhile, traders have been urged to continue to keep the prevailing peace in the state in spite of the hardship that the inferno may cause. Governor Caleb Manasseh Mufwang has since mobilized a team to investigate the cause of the inferno to forestall future occurrences.
Based on the report that we have received from chairman and the eyewitnesses that we have been getting from here, it is it began as a spark from a shop. So, but then we are not going to leave it at that. We would do everything to again unravel the root cause of this fire that has engulfed the terminus market, where about 500 shops have been reported to be burnt down. Can I also use this opportunity to plead with the citizens of Plateau to remain calm in a situation that we are going through as a people? This seems to be a trying moment for us as a people on the Plateau, hitting us on every side. But our resolve to remain committed, our resolve to have a will of resilience would help us to succumb all the pressures we are getting on every side.
Now, the chairman of House of Representatives Committee on Renewable Energy, Afam Ogene, has urged state governments to adopt the recently unveiled National Integrated Electricity Policy, also known as NEP, to fully leverage the provision of the Electricity Act of 2023, which empowers states to issue licenses for all electricity-related activities. Speaking to newsmen in Abuja ahead of the upcoming first National Legislative Conference on Renewable Energy and Expo, Ogene says that the adoption of the policy will expand investment opportunities across the state.
The Electricity Act 2023, signed into law in February 2024, permits states to issue licenses for all electricity activities, generation, transmission, distribution, encompassing lawmaking, regulation, and policy development across the entire power sector value chain. The new National Integrated Electricity Policy 2025 provides an even clearer framework that states need to adopt as they set in place their new electricity markets. It is expected that in doing so, renewables will form a large part of the emerging investment opportunities.
As Nigeria aspires to achieve 95% digital literacy by 2030, the National Information Technology Development Agency and other stakeholders have converged in Abuja to deliberate on ways at harnessing opportunities within the digital landscape for Nigerians in hard-to-reach rural and underserved communities. These were among the deliberations at the start of a two-day digital literacy workshop in Abuja, bringing together young Nigerians for the Step Down to the Digital Literacy for All program, with plans to inaugurate a technical work group to reach the target goal. News Central's correspondent Aishat Salihu brings us the details in this report.
An achievement of optimum digital literacy among Nigerians have been identified as infrastructure deficit, the digital divide, educational landscape, among others. With the federal government's initiative like the National Digital Literacy Framework set up to cover existing gaps, experts in the sector say that they are now targeting Nigeria's budding youth population. This two-day workshop aimed at strengthening and building the capacity of youth nationwide will help shape ideas and leverage opportunities among the nation's grassroots.
Those of us that are to implement this, develop the strategy, must understand what digital literacy is all about. Maybe prior to now, it would be sufficient just to say that digital literacy is a mandate of an organization. But today, we realize that digital literacy is a strategy for survival as a country. It's a strategy for national security. It's a strategy for health. It's a strategy for education. It is in everything. Therefore, it is important for us to begin to mainstream digital literacy into governance.
We have been partnering with the National Youth Service Corps, with NYSC, and in fact we actually have a CDS program that addresses that specifically now. We have the corps members that serve as our partners in the states, in the local governments, spread across all over the country. That is one way we have identified to scale, and already we are achieving quite a lot of traction.
Beyond skills acquisition, accessibility and affordability of digital devices is key, and the provision of such to institutions of learning should be given priority.
We need to extend it to the rural areas so that whatever we are seeing now is from the surface, because we are dealing with the urban areas, but we need to go down to the rural areas, primary schools, secondary schools, and then universities, colleges of education, polytechnics at the rural areas, supply them with these gadgets so that they can be able to teach digital literacy effectively to our pupils, our students that are there. And at the end of the day, you can see that those students can act as catalysts in the whole ecosystem of Nigeria, and they are the ones that will now come out and spread that gospel of digital literacy into the whole Nigeria.
Although Nigeria aims for 95% digital literacy by 2030, available data says that over 50% of its population lacks digital skills. Experts believe that with proper implementation of existing government initiatives, Nigeria can achieve this target. In Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
A UK NGO, IA Foundation, has raised 30 million naira to support the education of out-of-school children in Nigeria. The foundation aims to address both access and equity as it continues to work towards ensuring every Nigerian child has access to quality education. News Central's Omolola Olade here tells us more.
Reducing the increasing number of out-of-school children in Nigeria has remained a top priority for both government and non-governmental organizations. Hence, the 6th annual charity gala organized by IA Foundation to support the education of out-of-school children in the country. While funding remains one of the major challenges to reducing out-of-school children in Nigeria, the foundation aims to remove the financial barriers to education, particularly for marginalized groups such as girls, children with disabilities, and those from low-income families. The 30 million naira raised at the fundraiser is expected to bridge the funding gap in Nigeria's education by sponsoring children's tuition, bursary scholarships, and the provision of essential school materials to children across the country's 6 geopolitical zones.
Those of you who have influence in places of power, to influence the government to do something more for out-of-school children. It's not only the elites and children of the wealthy that should have good education. It's a human right and a child's right to have access to good education, good health, and all the other things that we all enjoy.
18.3 million kids are uneducated presently in Nigeria, and the IA Foundation is taking steps to change that, basically having an impact one child at a time. As PSJ UK, to carry on working with the IA Foundation to sound the alarm, get the noise out there, and to bring those who are in the diaspora and Friends of Nigeria to help out with sorting things, pushing things forward in Nigeria.
With the public schools especially, things have not been going, positive for those that can afford to fund themselves through private tuition. So IA Foundation is coming in to try and fill that gap, to plug and sponsor children that are from less privileged backgrounds, to be able to give them an opportunity, a fighting chance in life.
Since its establishment in 2019, IA Foundation continues to be at the forefront of education advocacy, helping hundreds of disadvantaged children return to school and retaining them in school.
Now, let's tell you that the federal government says that it will cancel its bilateral education agreement scholarship program for 2025, benefiting Nigerian students schooling abroad. The Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, made this known in Abuja while meeting with the leadership of the National Association of Nigerian Students. Alausa says that funds earmarked for the scholarship program can be channeled to local scholarship needs and students' intervention programs that will benefit more students in the country. He says that the federal government's objective is to reach out to more students and transform the nation's education sector.
These bilateral education agreements that were entered with other countries, with Nigeria, I think we have 12 of them. They told us that, okay, we should have student exchange program, which is good. It builds communal relationship between the countries. With those scholarships, students can go from here. It should be bilateral, but lately it's only been Nigerians going the other way. 2025 budget, we budgeted 9 billion for such students, 1,112 students. And I want you to hear this from my mouth. We've evaluated every single course that each of those 1,200 students are doing abroad. We have them in Nigeria. We will be canceling this bilateral exchange agreement. It's not the best use of money. We're cheating you other Nigerian students that are studying here. Those funds will be deployed to giving you more scholarship here locally.
Now, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Kudirat Kekerekun, has challenged the Nigerian Bar Association to rise and defend the integrity of the Nigerian judiciary. Now, this is contained in a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the Chief Justice of Nigeria on Media, Toby Shoni. Responding to the call by members of the NBA Bar and Bench Forum for more protection for judicial officers, the Chief Justice of Nigeria states that most of the petitions against judges accusing them of corruption are frivolous, baseless, and unsubstantiated. Justice Kekerekun stated that some people write petitions against judges just to intimidate them. The Chief Justice noted that judges are traumatized after they have been investigated and found to have done nothing wrong. And so, to help make sense of this, we are joined by legal practitioner Bayo Sani. Bayo, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Honored to be here.
Thank you. So, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Kudirat Kekerekun, has challenged the Nigerian Bar Association to rise and defend the integrity of the Nigerian judiciary. Let's take your thoughts, please.
Well, the call made by the Chief Justice of the Federation is a good one. It's a welcome call. And that does not call for just the bar to rise up to defend the judicial system or the judiciary in Nigeria, but it should be a joint effort. Both the bar and the bench both have roles to play, critical roles to play in the defense of the judiciary in Nigeria. Don't forget that judiciary, even though it's the third arm of government in Nigeria, we've always been, judiciary has always battled the issue of autonomy, oppression of judges, and lack of funds and what have you. And at the same time, it's a very, very sacred institution that must indeed be protected, because it is the last hope of the common man. When the common man in the society cannot get justice, what kind of society are we now seeking to build? So I believe that it's a welcome development. I quite agree, but I believe it is not just a responsibility that should be placed on the shoulders of the bar. Both the bar and the bench have critical roles to play in this situation.
So let's talk about the quality of these allegations or challenges that are brought against the judges. The CJN called them baseless, called them frivolous as well. Let's talk about the trauma that they go through. How does this impact or affect the judges?
It is true. When you have been accused wrongly of doing something, normal human being will be traumatized by such accusation, especially when you have done nothing wrong and you have gone through a whole lot of stressful proceedings to ensure that towards the determination of your guilt or innocence. However, we shouldn't call the entire petitions baseless. Most times when we talk about petitions against judges, we always look at it from the angle of corruption. Most times it's not just corruption. What about incompetence? What about incompetence, which of course includes pure, when the knowledge of law of the judge, who's supposed to be a master when it comes to laws and letters, you understand? But when the knowledge of law is also in doubt, this calls for petition. Sometimes it's not just about corruption. Maybe the judge has taken bribe or something, or just unnecessarily biased. But incompetence is another issue. Laziness, lack of due diligence. These are issues that lawyers take to NJC about judges. So we shouldn't just view it from the angle of corruption alone and now have a conclusive opinion on the fact that most of these cases are baseless just because the judge was able to explain to the panel that, there was the judge did not receive any bribe and so. But you see, incompetence, lack of diligence can even occasion miscarriage of justice, even beyond corruption. When you talk about the judge that should have delivered judgment within 3 months, as stipulated in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the judge is spending up to 200 days, last year, years in delivering such judgment, you understand? That is also miscarriage of justice. It's not only when justice has been decided in favor or against somebody that can occasion miscarriage of justice. Endless wait. So you have to protect the rest or the subject matter of the litigation. You have to also determine the right or fairness of any act that has been taken against anybody. You understand? These are all issues that are possible. So we shouldn't look at it only from the angle of corruption alone. We should look at it. So when lawyers write against judges, petition against judges, sometimes it's not just about corruption. Sometimes it's not about competence, their lack of diligence, or perhaps some personal, some judges even display emotional attitude towards cases just because this is what happened. You just take a very, very I don't want to use the word shadow now, but sometimes maybe myopic decision on some issues. This can also lead to petitions against such judges. So I do not agree that most of these petitions are baseless.
Okay. Well, let's talk about accountability now. How does the judiciary ensure that judges are held accountable while also protecting them from the reputational damage caused by these, and I put that in quote, unfounded allegations?
There's a constitutional provision for that. And that's exactly why NJC as a body has been established. Nigeria Judicial Council. That's the highest body, do you understand, that looks into the actions, that looks into how judges play their roles as legal or law officers in the society. Do you understand? So part of this procedure is this issue of petition. Either from even a member of the public can write a petition against a judge. It's not necessarily coming from, it shouldn't necessarily come from the lawyer. It can also come from the litigants themselves against the judge who felt that there has been a miscarriage of justice against them by virtue of the action or procedure adopted by the judge. Also, government can also do that. So there are constitutional provisions, do you understand, to put these judges on their toes. However, there are also ways to treat frivolous petitions so that it won't, somebody who has been wrongfully accused. And you know, in Nigeria today, we have media trial. Once there's an accusation, it goes to the media, and the media and such person has already been condemned, either on the pages of the newspaper or on TV. So coming back to your normal life, that people will not even hear the end of the story. They won't read the end of the story. So that's one of the things that make those, leaves those judges traumatized. However, there are procedures. Once you find out that, this is a frivolous petition, there's LPDC too, Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee. Have they been doing that? These are questions that we should put also to the NJC. Okay, you have looked into several petitions and you have found that some of these petitions are baseless. How many lawyers have you recommended for disciplinary action at the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary before the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee for filing such a frivolous, for presenting such frivolous allegations? And frivolous allegations are weighty allegations against a judge, for that matter. Okay. You know, we just left a not too palatable scenario where somebody wrote some facts in a book against judges up to the Supreme Court and some senior members of this profession. We all saw what that caused in the society. And I don't even think we have recovered from that damage today, whether right or wrong. You know, so these are the.
Bayo Sani, I want to say thank you very much for those legally trained submissions there. Thank you
very much.
You're welcome. Now let's go on a break. We're coming up. Mali's junta chief, Assimi Goita, wins backing of key political allies to be declared president for the next 5 years. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. And you're welcome back. Now, Mali's military leader, General Assimi Goita, has won the backing of key political allies to be declared president for the next 5 years. The 41-year-old, who has seized power twice, was named transitional president after his last coup in 2021. He promised to hold elections the following year, but has since reneged in a blow to efforts to restore multi-party rule. A national conference organized by the regime but boycotted by leading opposition parties has now recommended naming General Goita president until 2030. He has not yet commented on the recommendation, but the conference was seen as an attempt to legitimize his bid to remain in power. And economic freedom fighters have condoled with families and associates of the 3 South African police officers whose bodies, along with those of 2 civilians, were recently recovered from the Hennops River in Gauteng. Reports say the 3 officers had left Bloemfontein for Limpopo on Wednesday evening last week and were last seen alive that time. They were returning to their work base after visiting families in the Free State. The EFF called for a full and transparent investigation into deaths of these SAPS officials and civilians, saying the country deserved to know whether the deaths were isolated incidents or something criminal. And Kemi Badenoch has accused British Prime Minister Keir Starmer of complicity covering up a rape or the rape of gangs as she demanded a national inquiry into the child grooming scandal. At Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday, Badenoch said at least 50 towns were affected by the government, but the government was doing nothing. The Conservative leader said at least 50 towns are affected by rape gangs, places like Peterborough, Derby, Birmingham, Nottingham, Leicester, Rotherham, Rochdale and also Preston. But a furious Starmer claimed Conservatives have failed to tackle the issue when in power. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer commended the Royal Air Force for what he said is its professionalism and bravery following British airstrikes on Houthi drone facilities in Yemen. The strikes carried out jointly with the United States targeted buildings used by the rebels to manufacture drones roughly 25 kilometers south of Sana'a. Speaking during Prime Minister's questions, Starmer said the mission aligned with long-standing British defence policy. The Ministry of Defence confirmed the RAF's involvement in the nighttime operation, calling it a necessary response to regional threats.
Yesterday evening, Royal Air Force Typhoons successfully conducted strikes against Houthi military targets in Yemen in a joint operation with our US allies. This action was in line with long-standing policy of the UK government to defend freedom of navigation in the Red Sea after Houthi attacks fuel regional instability and risk economic security for families in the UK. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to say that all UK aircraft and personnel returned safely, and I pay tribute to the professionalism and bravery of all our servicemen and servicewomen.
We'll go on a break now, and when we get back, business. Nigeria's NNPCL faces criticism over Warri refinery shutdown, despite $897.6 million spent as Afreximbank launches a $3 billion credit line to support fuel access and cut Africa's $30 billion import bill. Femi Oladehin, senior partner at Gentile Capital, noted the Warri refinery shutdown stems from long-standing neglect. He questioned transparency and urged clarity on whether concrete plans exist to address ongoing operational and management issues.
Honestly, it wouldn't really be a big news item if there was transparency from the beginning. If you recall what I've always said about those refineries, the refineries have been abandoned without turnaround maintenance for a long time. Naturally, when you go, it's literally like you have a car that you've parked for 5 years and you decide you go and want to fix that car and get it running. It's going to take some time before you ever get to optimal production for that car. And that's the same thing with the refinery. When you've left a refinery on service for quite some time, and then you then go back into that refinery, you're going to discover things that were working properly before that are no longer working. So from a technical point of view, we always expected that the stop-start cycle was going to be one that we had to contend with as it related to the two refineries, that's even both Warri and Port Harcourt. It's not news that that refinery has had to go through some form of shutdown.
Nigeria's fiscal woes deepened in January 2025 as debt servicing hit 144% of retained revenue, with earnings at 483.47 billion naira and debt payments at 696.27 billion naira, highlighting a worsening debt trap. Oladipo Ajayi emphasized the importance of not analyzing data in isolation, highlighting that the beginning of the year presents unique challenges. He noted that last year's first quarter generated 1.7 trillion, underscoring the need for proactive government spending.
Currently a problem. But it won't be advisable for one to actually look at that data in isolation because there's always this peculiarity about the beginning of the year. And that's one of the reasons why, if you notice that when BMO is actually issuing a debt instrument, they are more aggressive at the beginning of the year, at maybe like Q1, And one of the reasons why they actually had that position was because at the beginning of the year, you don't tend to start generating revenue aggressively like that. And for example, let's look at what happened last year. Last year, we actually had about 479 billion. That's what we actually used in servicing debt at the beginning of that last year. And our revenue is just barely above that. And the whole Q1 last year, we generated, I think, about 1.7 trillion. But as at the end of the year, the total revenue generated by Nigeria was about 25.5 trillion. So it tells you that the whole Q1, what we generated was just about 6 to 7% of the total revenue for the whole year. So it means that the way we run our revenue generation is we are always very slow at the beginning of the year. So it means that Q1 we are always very slow, but when we start getting to Q2 and Q3, that's when the engine will start revving on a higher level. So like I said, if you look at it in a solution, it means that there's problem and there's something that we need to do. And do we still need to do something? Yes, we need to work around that. So it simply means that we are not generating enough revenue to actually.
And now sports. The unseeded duo of Samuel Boboye and Iyanu Oluwa Falana clinched the mixed doubles titles on Wednesday, April 30, at the 5th Michael and Felicia Alabi Memorial National Table Tennis Championship held in Aton, Ayegbaju, Osun State. They defeated second-seeded Abdulbasit Abdul Fatai and Sukurat Ayelagbega 3-1. The 5-day tournament, attracting top players from across Nigeria, also saw a shock in the under-15 boys singles when top seed Ayola Usman was ousted in the last 16 by unseeded Solomon Oyeneka. The competition, with 11.5 million naira in prize money, is nearing its conclusion on the 2nd of May. Janik Sinha has insisted that he did not receive preferential treatment from anti-doping authorities as he prepares for his return to action at next week's Italian Open in Rome, following a 3-month ban which caused anger among a section of the men's tennis tour. The Italian star heads into his home tournament, the last major event before Roland Garros kicks off next month, with some suspicion that the world #1 was treated leniently after twice testing positive for traces of clostridiol in March last year. Both the International Tennis Integrity Agency, whose exoneration of Sinha was announced in August, and the World Anti-Doping Agency accepted that he did not gain any competitive advantage from the banned substance and that he bore no fault for an accidental contamination. Sinha, whose ban ends on Sunday, has always denied any wrongdoing. And that's all the news this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. A court has ordered EFCC to release Aisha Achimoglu within 24 hours over money laundering allegations. And Chief Justice of Nigeria has challenged Nigeria Bar Association to rise and defend the integrity of the Nigerian judiciary. We also told you that Mali's junta chief has won backing of key political allies to declare president for the next 5 years. Remember, you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.